Right, let me start off by doing something that's incredibly infuriating to a lot of people. Do you know what it is? I'm doing it right now. I mean, this drives people potty. Holding one of these clip-on lapel / lavalier type microphones, or whatever they are, in front of you while you're talking to it. Actually holding it in your hand. This is something that makes some people absolutely livid. And there's a lot of people on YouTube do this. Now let me just clip this on my shirt to calm everyone down who's losing their rag right now. Yeah, so it's supposed to be like that. I think the people that hold them, might have a reason at times. Maybe it's a noisy environment or whatever, but it always ends up peaking out a little bit, compressing things down. They could have just kept it there. It probably would have worked just as well. But yeah, it does make some people very angry seeing that. And I'll be honest, it winds me up as well. I mean, not like so that I'd put something in the comments to them, but you're kind of thinking, why are you doing that? I'll tell you especially why it's a bit silly. Let me give you a demonstration. Here's a Rode clip-on mic that I've used. I use this one for the bits to camera normally. At the moment I'm talking to a Osmo Pocket 3, which at the moment in America I believe is now a couple of £1 million. Over here it's still like £3.50, but I'm talking to this Osmo 3. And these little clip-on mics, well, these came, or there was an option at the time when you got these, to put them in a nice little handle like that. Now I know that looks a bit odd, so then it has this nice spongy top. And doesn't that look a lot better? Imagine you were talking to someone. Oh, can I ask you a question? Yes, what is it? Why are you talking to me? Well, it's because you're talking to me. Okay, thanks for that. All right, that kind of thing. Now, that is much better than, hello, how are you doing? Not so bad. Okay. You know, this is, I know this is like incredibly petty, but I just wanted to mention these things exist now. I know that was for the Rode mic, but those were years ago. Recently, I picked this up just to make my point. It was like next to nothing, bit of plastic, Amazon, there's loads of different ones, or eBay or something. And this works with multiple mics. Now I'm just going to unclip this, so I'll mute this bit. Otherwise that might have been a bit annoying. But yeah, again, let me just pull the little wig off this. And this has a thing. There you go. Now I'm talking to you like it's the 1980s. But, you know, if you must hold it in your hand, go and spend a £5 on a piece of plastic. Isn't that more professional than that? But then again, it's YouTube, you're not supposed to be professional. Anyway, let me put this back on my shirt. Yeah, no, I started off on a weird tangent there. Just wanted to mention that for months and months though. So, I mean, a lot of this stuff I've got on my little list. It's all backlog. You know, I'm talking about stuff that's well out of date now. So let's just go on. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the office. The last time I went on about the lights, I don't know if everyone's been here since the beginning, so I appreciate that some people might not be aware. This is a prefabricated cabin. It's made of like wood and plastic. It's not going to hold the weight of those. The roof on here, that looks like kind of almost plasterboard to me, I think. Yeah, nothing's going to hang on to that. But the whole point of that, I mean, even if I had like the most rigid construction here, it was all brick and stuff, and I could attach to big wooden beams that were this big, I wouldn't want to do it because I need to move these around. They need to be on stands because down that end of the room is a hi-fi. Down this end is me sat behind a desk. The lights are pointed sort of at me at the moment, but if I was filming something to do with a hi-fi, I need to move them down there. Yeah, they've always got to be portable, and they might even come back behind me here sometime if I'm shooting something down there. So yeah, they were always going to move around. So yeah, no, they're not attaching to a roof that would collapse if I put anything up there heavier than a wind chime. And these walls, well, I can't attach anything to them at all now because I've soundproofed the thing, and they've all got soundproofing stuff on them. You've got to bear in mind, I'm just doing things very temporarily for patron people. I mean, when I got the light out of the bag last time, I just opened it opened the box up, stuck it on a stand it didn't really fit on, put it dead in front of me, and then just to show like a light being unboxed, I've got two now. One's bouncing off the ceiling, one's over there. I don't know if I'm happy with this, but again, I'm looking at the image on the Osmo 3. That's not what it's going to be like. In fact, we'll change over to my, I don't even know what this is, ZV-E10 II. I don't even know if this is the camera I'm going to be using, but I've got a couple of cameras, a few lenses, zoom lenses. I could put a camera at the other end of the room and sort of zoom in and see if that's a better effect. Put it off to one side. I mean, that bedroom studio type thing I've built up over the years, that's just random crap. Just assembled like behind me to hide that I've got even more random crap in the room. There was no kind of rhyme or reason behind most of it. It's just I kind of bought some. I thought, oh, that looks nice. Stuck it on a shelf. And you'll notice these coloured lights down here. Just did those this morning. Probably a bad idea. Probably not something I'm going to stick with, or maybe I will. I don't know. If people don't think they look ridiculous. But I just got some like gels. There used to be how they call them gels. Plastic film. I've got a big tube light, 5 foot, LED one. Maybe I'd stick another one at the top or something, you know. I mean, there's all these possibilities, isn't there? But at the moment, it's just a matter of like playing about, seeing how things look, seeing if I'm happy with them. It's all about if I'm happy with them, really. And if I kind of look at it in the edit and go, nah, it looks rubbish, I'll change everything round again. It's all flexible. So yeah, don't get too hung up on the finer details, because I'm not getting hung up on them. I'm just playing around with stuff, enjoying buying a few things for the office, having a bit of fun. I say office, studio, whatever it is, having a bit of fun with it. Let me show. I'll tell you what. Before we put this on, since we've got this switched on already, I just want to show you a couple of things in the room, and then we'll get down to old news from written, most of it in January. Let's see if any of it's still relevant. Right. Okay, well, first thing, the hi-fi has made its way into the room. None of it works because it's not wired in. The wires are down there. Those are all the wires from behind the hi-fi in the lounge. Yeah, I've kept them all neat and tidy and alphabetically organised. But the first thing I really want to do with this is wire up the speakers to the amp and the record player to the preamp and then the amp. I've got these new heavy-duty lamp stands from, I think it was newer themselves, I'm not too sure. Anyway, they support the weight of this just about, with like a half a kilogram, sort of perhaps over, but you know, I'm pretty sure they'd be able to cope with that. This is like acoustic panelling all the way along. I'll show you in closer detail in a minute, but I've gone around the room. I hope this isn't making you dizzy. And there's my desk at the other end with the lights at the moment in the current position, which is not a permanent position. I might even go back to try to use one of these things, you know, and forget the parabolic job, because I found these little ends in a packet I hadn't opened. Maybe one of those bouncing off a ceiling would be a good idea. Yeah, so, you know, I've got to play around with stuff, a lot of playing around with stuff. I just need to swap out this camera that currently is on a monopod and swap it to the other one. Yeah, I think that's okay. Might be, might not. You can never tell on these little screens. But yeah, let me tell you, I've moved things around again this time. I've changed one of those parabolic things to one of those like little cones, bouncing off the ceiling on that side. Left the big parabolic one over there. See how that looks. I've got to do a lot more experimentation yet, so nothing's set. But yeah, here's what. So we're on the ZV-E10 II, whatever it's called. Does that look any different? Perhaps I need to adjust the. Oh, it's f4.0. Hold on, let's sort that out. I was wondering if we're going to get a bit of background separation at f1.8. Maybe a little bit. We'll see. Again, I can't see it on the screen. Right. So I've got my big acoustic panels, which I can bring in if necessary, if I think there's like echo. But ever since I put this stuff up on the wall, it seems a lot better. It isn't just for voices, because if I've got a hi-fi in here and I want to be testing things out, I don't want to be saying, oh, it sounds a bit echoey for everything just because the room was a big wooden box. This is, I'll say I'm getting a load of dings through because I just put the last patron well, the last video on Patreon. So I'm getting a load of people commenting on it, and I'll read through those later, but I just thought it's, what time is it now? It's 3:45 on a Saturday, and it seems like a good time to make this video. Yeah, so it's pretty thick stuff, and it's quite like rigid, but it's spongy as well. It's like a compressed fibre. Let me see if is it going to focus on that. See what I mean? Kind of, it's not foam, it's like, you can see little hairs coming off it perhaps, or bits of fibre I should say. But yeah, anyway, so self-adhesive, but once that stuff's on the wall, it's never coming off. You can tell. It's just like, it's so sticky. But even when I was like putting it up and I'd sort of place one ever so slightly wrong, just with a little bit of the corner, and I wanted to peel it off, it's like getting it off like that. Anyway, so there, that's the room acoustically adjusted, and I think it worked out all right. Oh yeah, I've given up all pretense of normality. This was when I was ill, I think, a little bit. But people like email me and ask me if I want to do stuff sometimes. And I wrote back to what I said, thanks for the kind offer, but I just don't like to leave the house anymore. I thought, why just not be honest with people? Because like, life's too short to be beating about the bush. You know, when I did the one about the smallest Walkman ever made, that was ages ago, wasn't it? And I had the thumbnail for the video of me holding a magnifying glass and a tiny Walkman underneath. And somebody said, oh, it's a clickbait thumbnail. I'm thinking, they really think there's a Walkman the size of like a fingernail. It was just a kind of homage to old movie posters, really. I remember there was a lot of old movie posters with like magnifying glasses, you know. I can't think of any now, but maybe Hitchcock might have done one, who knows. Saul Bass, is it Saul Brass? Right, now, you know, I like microcars. Therefore, every now and then I'll look on YouTube and see if there's any new ones anywhere in the world or ones coming out. But when I've done searches for them in the last year or so, it's just brought up a load of AI slop, videos that people have just created through AI and uploaded to YouTube. There was one that I found, and you can see underneath the actual information that the guy had used to create this AI video. He'd obviously asked ChatGPT or whatever the tool was. And in the video description, it actually had the response to him. And it says here, sure, here's a detailed, engaging and well-structured 3,000-word YouTube script about the Microlino 2.0 for an automotor video. This script maintains a natural flow covering everything from design to performance while keeping the audience engaged. And then it just goes into the script. And then the script is like, hello, I am a terrible YouTube video. And YouTube's infested with this, so much so you don't bother kind of looking for some things anymore because you know that all you're going to get is just rubbish. Anyway. Somebody said, well, on my last video, they said that this sounds like an AI voice. This was one where my voice is breaking and I'm sounding a little bit odd. And obviously I'm nasal. And they said it sounds like an AI voice. I thought, well, that's a good AI voice. If it could sound like a man who's a bit ill. You know, when you get a foreign YouTube video and you click on it and the voice has been overdubbed by a computer into the language of your choosing. So in my case, it's English. So I click on a German video about a car, and then I get this. But the voice they use is just so annoying. I mean, there's some really good computer-generated voices now that are kind of normal. But they're is this higher voice? And it's go, yeah, that's correct. It's like some sort of television channel thing, but like hypered up. And I wish there was a few different voices you could choose from. There was one with these two guys talking about a car. Hey Dave, what's that? Well, mate, and it's like this, like everything's up here, and it's like, can we bring it down a little bit? And of course, you can turn it off. You can put these subtitles on and things. But yeah, I don't know why they pick such a kind of weird, kind of hyper. Like, hey, maybe this is supposed to be a YouTube voice. Hey, YouTube, right? Anyway, probably annoying you doing that. Talking of these dings, I just want to mention I've got a new doorbell. It's exciting, isn't it? Do you remember years ago I did a review of a doorbell that was like, it was self-powered. This is going back a long way. So you pressed it, it uses a piezoelectric cell to generate the electricity by you actually physically pushing it. and then that would wirelessly communicate with ringers that you have around the house. And I had 3 ringers on that one. Anyway, it came to me thinking, oh, I need a bell ringer in this room here. So if anyone rings on the front door, I can hopefully get there in time before they drive off in their van, which is quite a challenge to get through about 5 doors. But anyway, so I went looking for another ringer for this thing because years ago I just bought another set and it came with another ringer. Anyway, it had been and gone. They didn't make it anymore. By the way, it's still working perfectly after all these years. So this time I went shopping again. I found a new doorbell that worked exactly the same way, piezoelectric, and I bought 2 sets with 2 ringers. So now I've got 3 ringers in the house, front door area, kitchen, upstairs, and I've got another one in here. And it does reach all the way through. So, yeah, they're good. And this one was a better one because it doesn't take up a plug socket. It's a pass-through. So it plugs in a plug socket, the ringer unit, but it has another plug socket on the top, so you could just pop something on it. And it had a loud ringer on it. I had a parcel guy the other day, and we've got the front door. They're called rock doors, I believe, or something. Very thick, very heavy, and if you knock on it, can't hear it on the other side. It's so solid. So I got this parcel guy. No. And obviously they got the weakest wrist, like they broke the wrist. And then they've got their hand covered in sponge, and they knock on the door like that. And there was the doorbell's here, and it's got they came, these Technic things, with a little card that you can stick with a double-sided adhesive. It says push bell. It has a picture of a bell, and it says push on it. And still they're tapping on the door. What's with parcel guy? If you're a parcel guy, why don't you push the doorbell? And I know what people will say, because they always say the same thing. There's a lot of doorbells that don't work. Right, here's the solution. Push the doorbell and knock on the door. Problem solved. Don't I'm not pushing the doorbell because some of them don't work. I could save hours. No, push everything. Doorbell, hit the knocker, knock on the door, and then scream at the top of your voice. And then hopefully someone will take the parcel off you. Oh, I had this idea, right? Random topics, these, totally. You know, at the start of a YouTube video, I wish there was what I would call a tear off section that you could do. So say I put out a 10-minute video. I could have a 15-second bit at the start or a 30-second bit. The time's irrelevant. Say 30 seconds. So really the video would be 10.5 minutes long. And the bit at the beginning, I could say oh, hi, I'm not going to be here next week. I'm on holiday, but this is going to be the last video for a couple of weeks now. I hope you enjoy. Here's this week's video. Something like that, just a message. And then the video goes out. Now, a few weeks down the line, that message is irrelevant. And if you could just snip it off, say, oh, remove intro, there's a little tick box, take off intro section, remove first chapter. Now, I know there's a YouTube editor, but the YouTube editor is crap. I mean, it's a little bit better than it used to be, but recently I had a cause to try and put a blur effect on a video, and it took 12 hours or something. Yeah, it's rubbish. But if there was just a little thing where you could just snip at it and then the video starts further on, wouldn't that be a good idea? So if you're at YouTube, get on with that. So let's move on to medical. Okay, I'll whiz through this. Right, so I had the blood infection. That was all sorted out with transfusions and antibiotics. Completely fixed now. That, going back, terrible flu or something along those lines, infection of somebody's terrible thing, which then, this is my theory, that migrated to the blood. I don't see why that theory would be wrong, because I was fine before, got this terrible illness for a couple of weeks, but then never really recovered from it because it had moved into my blood, made me very ill indeed. Hemoglobin levels, in the toilet and this, that and the other. There's all sorts of bad issues with it. Maybe incredibly weak, and you know all the story. Anyway, to fix that, I was in hospital for 5.5 days or something. It was an incredibly miserable experience. But they fixed it. Oh, I've got to mention, I was on a liver ward, because I think that it would deliver things, something else. But anyway, they put me on there. So I was with people, I think mostly with liver issues. I think there were some other issues. But in this 8 beds in a room, 1 toilet for about 20 other people as well, because there was a load of these rooms. Anyway, and I was, on one side of me was a guy who had basically drunk too much. But not in a crazy way. He wasn't like an alky. Well, just in the evening, social drinker, going on holiday, going down the pub, probably having a few drinks in the evening and stuff. Completely knackered up his system. He was yellow. His liver was buggered. He got like almost no function left in his liver. He didn't know any of this. He was fine before. They brought him in. They told him all this. The funny thing is, they bring a curtain round when they want to have a private conversation. The consultant will come in, go, pull the curtain round. Well, you can hear everything because the guy just sat next to you with a curtain round. I don't know what the curtain's for, but anyway, like I remember I was on a plane once and I was right at the front of standard class or whatever it was called. The first class was in front. Business premier, whatever they call it, and I was like just sitting there. And at one point, the stewardess come up from the other end and went, "Close this curtain," and then a minute or two later, went, "Open it up again," and everyone had a newspaper, and it was like, "Oh, it's like a magic trick." Don't let everyone see the newspapers being handed out. And then there was like some food or something, drinks or whatever had been handed out. Of course, everyone back in standard class has got nothing, but it was just this magic curtain that we used with. But anyway, yeah, so they have the curtain and they're having this full conversation about what's wrong. And this guy, they ended up pumping 6 litres of stuff out of him, like draining him because it was all in his stomach and all. It completely knackered his system up. And he was, I don't think he realised he was like drinking a lot. Chap next to me on the other side, his wife worked, but he didn't. He was like 65. He spent all the time at home drinking. And he was having a detox program. And then he would go on to a recovery place, whatever they call them, rehabilitation, those kind of things. He was a nice chap, really nice fella. But yeah, but this place put me off ever having another drink because I saw what people thought was like just having a few drinks and that'd be all right. What it can do to you. Anyway, that was it. Anyway, so I was in there, sorted out my blood thing. Glad to get out. But while I was in there, they did an X-ray and they'd also done a CT scan before I got in there to see what was the issue with the blood because it was something going on. Since then, I've had an endoscopy, camera down the throat. And then I had an MRI on Easter Monday, bank holiday. I think somebody pushed that through for me. I was on this medical trial. The chap in charge there, the professor, I think he's pushing all this through because he basically, we got a bit of a relationship. He thought I was a nice bloke. I thought he was a nice bloke. And we just kind of got along. And then once he heard that all these things were wrong with me, I think behind the scenes, he's probably called in a few favours from a few of his colleagues. The fact I got the CT scan was due to the fact he knew some guy in haematology and stuff. So all this has been fast-tracked just because I've been on this medical trial. But also, even if he hadn't pushed anything through, a lot of these things came from that. So it's kind of done me a favour by being on that. So yeah, endoscopy, MRI. Then this week was a bad one. Colonoscopy on, I don't know, was it Tuesday or something? Worst thing with that is the prep, because you have to have like a drink that completely empties out your system and you can't eat anything for a day and a half. Being a type 1 diabetic, not being able to eat anything for that amount of time is a really tricky thing to manage because at some point you're not allowed to have drinks as well. So I can't have any kind of glucose. You just got to kind of somehow get your blood sugar up and hope it doesn't go down too quickly. And you're balancing all these things. Without the diabetes, a lot of these things would be so much easier, but it really causes a massive amount of hassle that you're worried all the time with this stuff. Anyway, so the colonoscopy, the unpleasant, but not painful in any particular way, just an unpleasant experience. But I had a look afterwards, and they gave me a drug, and it was had fentanyl. I thought I'm part of the fentanyl epidemic now, but that was the numbing type of thing they used for your insides. But the funny thing was, in the recovery room afterwards, once they'd had the procedure, you had to kind of lie around for a bit. Once I was waiting for the procedure, it was the same room, and there was a guy next to me, and he was talking like he was drunk. He was like, "Yeah, another thing, I got married in that church down there," and talking to the nurses. And the nurses were like, oh, right, really? And they must have the patience of a saint, just going, oh, right, that's really interesting. It was like a lot of drunk men in this room, basically, who were having colonoscopies. And because of the medication they'd had, they were all like a bit doolally. So I was expected to be a bit this way. I went in, I came out, I was completely normal. I could have driven a car, even though he says there were a few things you weren't supposed to do. Don't drive a car. Don't operate heavy machinery, usual stuff that you get on medicines. Don't sign any legally binding agreements for 24 hours. That was a new one on me. It kind of amused me. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, sure, you can have my house, no problem. But yeah, everyone, like all the other people, the one came out after me as well. And he's like, yeah, no, just because everyone, like verbal diarrhea. And I'm just like, felt normal. I mentioned this to one of the nurses. She said they must have given you the exact right amount, to numb the thing, but not send you a bit funny. But yeah, I was thinking I'm immune to fentanyl now. I'm not going to test it again just to see, but yeah, it did numb the thing, so it must have worked. So colonoscopy. Then just before the colonoscopy, I was dragged into a room. Not dragged in. I was called into a room. Mrs. was there with me, and they were going, "Do you know why you're having like this procedure and all?" And they were all talking about the big C, but without kind of saying it, and they were kind of pussyfooting around it. And then the woman handed me the card at the end with the details on for who to get in touch with if I had any problems. I'd flipped it over. It's like Macmillan Cancer Care, which so you're great. And that was because they got me fast tracked for a liver biopsy on the Friday. And so today is Saturday. Yesterday I had a liver biopsy. And that was interesting. One of these things, they don't drug you up. You're awake. They numb the area. And then I think it's like something perhaps the size of the end of a Bic pen, maybe they put inside you, and it snaps a bit of your liver and they pull it out and then they send it off for a biopsy. The worst bit of it was the fact the guy was using one of those, what do you think, things that when women are pregnant. I had the word in my head the other day and it's gone already. Hold on. Give me a minute. Ultrasound. Reminds me of that joke, isn't it? Who's the coolest guy? Who's the coolest person in the hospital? Who's the coolest person in the hospital? The ultrasound guy. I'm not that good at telling jokes, am I? But yeah, so the ultrasound, he had one of those things, you look at babies, but he put the old gel on it, which was freezing cold, of course, and I rubbed it up and down my rib cage, like really hard, like it was a xylophone. And not only was that very uncomfortable when he was trying to find the place to put the incision, which he has to do this and then put an X on it or whatever. It was ticklish as well. I'm incredibly ticklish. So I'm there going, like, it's pain plus laughter almost. And I was like, please, I was waiting for that to stop. So the actual kind of sticking something in, I've been looking, it wasn't too bad. There was a bit of a kind of, bit, a bit like, say, when a dentist manages to get the wrong bit of your tooth when he's playing around and you go like that, but, perhaps not as bad as that. So anyway, they took the biopsy on the liver and that's gone off to be checked to see if there's any cancerous tissue and if there is, what kind it is and how they can treat it. So that's where I am up to at the moment. So we sorted all the previous things out. The endoscopy that they went down the throat, they did that because they thought that there was thickening of the esophagus. They stuck a camera down. There wasn't thickening of the esophagus. It was fine. The thing that they stuck up like that, they did that because it looked like on one of these things that there was like some kind of, again, thickening of the walls or whatever. Turns out it was just folds in the colon or the lower intestine, which are normal for someone of my age. Not a problem. Presumably even your insides get a bit wrinkled when you get old. So all the tests so far, fine. I don't know what happened with that MRI because they did it and then just a couple of days later they went straight to the biopsy without even having a look at the MRI. But the thing is, with the biopsy, you get a proper result. And it's not just someone looking at a picture, it's somebody getting a bit of you and sending it off to a lab and then they know what's going on with that. So yeah, I'll only know in a couple of weeks. So that's where I'm up to at the moment. Everything they've checked so far, A-OK, but those weren't the important things really. The important one is what's up with this liver. Is there a problem? They said there's a lesion on it, but you can have lesions and they're not cancerous. We'll see, won't we? I can't do anything about it. If they have caught it, it seems like they've caught it very early, because I don't have any of the symptoms of somebody who's got liver cancer. If you look up those, which I have done, like obviously done a search, what are the symptoms of liver cancer? I don't have any of those. There's like a list of things that you're throwing up, sweating, grey stools and all sorts of stuff. Not grey squirrels. But yeah, so I've got, and the only reason that they've looked at this is because I was on that medical trial and I was a bit ill with the flu. So that's why they did the initial CT scan when they found this shadow lesion thing. And the only reason they did the CT scan is because there's this professor who called in a favour with his haematology mate to like rush that through. And it all started with me going on this medical trial and me getting this awful flu. So when you trace it all back, getting this terrible flu whilst having a horrible few months might have actually saved my life, because if they have got something and they've found it on the liver, it's been caught incredibly early just by chance, because they did these tests, because I had the flu, which then we thought was something going on in the blood. So there you go. Looking on the positive side of a situation that isn't particularly positive. But finally, final thing, right? If I go in this thing and they say, right, if they get the results of this biopsy and they say, yeah, we've had a look, you got 3 months to live, which doesn't seem likely, but let's just go down that route. Or maybe that happens in the future. How would you get rid of all the stuff I've got? Like if you had a locker full of stuff, because I'm not going to be in the mood for selling one item at a time on eBay. I haven't got that kind of, spend your last 3 months putting things in boxes. No. But if you had like a load of, say, record players, boom boxes, amplifiers, things that you didn't really want to, like reel-to-reel machines. Technics SVP 100, that VHS thing that records digital audio that's worth probably thousands now. You don't really want to put these things in a skip, do you? In e-waste. Somebody somewhere would want them. How would you get rid of those things? I mean, you can have like an auctioneer place come in and take these things and then sell them on. But I don't think they get like almost anything from them. But maybe that's one way. That's one way I've thought about. But I'd have to like put stickers on everything, say these are the good bits, and then the other stuff ends up getting binned, doesn't it? It's just a bit of a worry, because I don't want to leave the missus with all this hassle. And obviously there's a locker full of stuff that's costing 400 quid a month. You don't want to be paying that forever, do you? Just for storing stuff. Anyway, have a think about it. If you've got a brilliant idea, I mean a good idea, not just like some, maybe you could have a car boot sale, but, like a proper, like you've maybe gone through this yourself with a relative, or someone who's done something. If you got a good idea, just let me know. It'd be interesting, because I've been racking my brains and I've not come up with anything other than the auction. Now, I had a word with a chap I know called Andy, who has a load of stuff as well. We only know each other through email. We met up once I gave him a few things. That little Sony NT1, that came via Andy. And I asked him, and he said, well, I've got he's been thinking about the same thing, because he's a bit ill at the moment as well. And he's got like a list of people, like, Dave, he'd have the record player, and Terry would have this, that, and the other. He knows a few people. I don't know anyone. I'm the guy who don't want to leave his house, remember? So I don't, I haven't got a great network of contacts. You're the contacts. So if you've got anything, when I said contacts, then I'm thinking of a gold camera from Japan. Nice little contacts. I was thinking of getting one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you're the people who might know. So if you do, let me know. That'd be great. Right. The last video that went out, the end of it was just snipped off, wasn't it? I'll have to go back and fix that and re-upload it. But I'm going to go read through all these emails now. Well, messages on Patreon. Thanks for watching the last video. I hope you found some entertainment in it. It was the one with the little box back projector thing from Singer, the Audio Study Mate Auto Vance 2. That was just one of those ones that I was doing live to camera. In the middle of that, I'd got it mostly shot, and I was trying to shoot it around hospital visits. And then I was sitting down to edit it all, and I was getting quite a good way into it. I'm thinking, this is going quite well, because I thought it'd be a bit of a nightmare, but it was just slotting together all right. Phone rings. Hospital says, can you come and have a blood test urgently, because you're having this liver biopsy tomorrow. And the last blood test you had showed like your results were weird, which is back when I had that blood infection. So they needed to check that they were all right before the operation. They said if they'd done them in the morning of the operation, I'd have to wait 4 hours for the results before I could have the operation. My thing was at 9:15, so I was anxious to get. So I'm in the middle of editing. I had to leave the house, leave the edit halfway open. So it's been stuff like that that's been delaying everything at the moment. So I just wanted you to know that I've been trying to put videos together, but other things come first, don't they? Anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.